so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Deepa, for this is my pleasure, like talking to you, and I've heard so much about you. So I think it is my pleasure, like getting a chance to interact with you. And it's my, I mean, thanks for this opportunity.
So, Rajul, you started Proximal Soil Sense when you were part of your IIT PhD program with your faculty, and 2017 now. So uh, several years, 11 years now of since you even started working on the technology, right?
Yes, it's basically 2017 is when we started the company, but whole this developing sensors for agriculture and all started way back in 2011. So when I started my PhD, so
Exactly.
that is when I would say the whole work of developing sensors in agriculture started.
And what led you to pick agriculture as your sector of interest? You could have done any other.
Yes, okay. That's an interesting question. And like looking back, what I think motivated me to take agriculture were a couple of things. First thing is maybe my forefathers were in agriculture but had no kind of I'm not, my father himself is an engineer and in service, so no background in agriculture. Uh, when I started my PhD, I always believed in something which would have direct impact. I somehow don't believe in theoretical research. I mean, of course, that is also very important. But for me, I don't get, excited looking at just theoretical part of it. So when I started my PhD, there were many students in our electrical engineering department looking at sensors for point of care devices for health monitoring. So there were like cardiac markers, urine biomarkers there, but nobody was actually looking at agriculture. And being an aware citizen, we were all reading that what's the status of agriculture in India, what is happening in outside India, and there was quite a huge gap between what is happening outside India and what is happening in India. India being an agrarian country with the 50-60% of population directly or involved or indirectly involved in agriculture. So I actually visited some of these research institutes in agriculture, talked to the faculties there, and I saw the status of technologies in one of the premier institutes. I mean, they have a lot of budget funding support of government, and they can actually buy technologies, but all these technologies were quite expensive. Secondly, I saw some of these technologies which gone off calibration, are not working. In fact, those institutes were finding it bit challenging to get it serviced, right? And that and third thing was all these technologies were kind of, if you see it, I can't see that our Indian farmers can directly use them. There was a, I mean, these technologies were not meant or maybe designed or customized for Indian farmers. So this was one thing. And when you listen to a lot of I mean, Microsoft had come up with farm beats and things of that sort. When you hear that, what they were saying, the major challenges is there are a lot of analytics company and things happening in analytical, but data acquisition is the most expensive part. India being very sensitive to cost and all, I thought that is the bottleneck. Acquisition of data has to be made very cost effective. You need to have soil data, the microbial data, the weather data, everything very accurate, reliable, at the same time very cost effective. So this was something which motivated me, and I discussed with my professor that why not we started something in agriculture. So I can say I was the kind of first student there looking at developing sensors for agriculture. So my PhD thesis is also developing sensors for agriculture.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
The timing also is very right, because I think there is so much of government focus on irrigation to get more crop for every drop.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about how the journey has been practically. When one is the ideological interest, then the practical on field when you go and talk to farmers. What kind of challenges have you faced on field with the farming community, both small, large, or whether it is cooperatives? So, is there like a pattern you're finding in the challenges?
Okay, so I'll tell you what. I felt there's a complete, I mean, I would say there's a bit of disconnect between. So when I said, as I told you that you just mentioned per more crop per drop, right? That was one of the government's initiative, because we all know that without water there's no agriculture. Sustainability is not there if there is no water. So that is what. Mm, we went to research institutes. We asked them what is that, because see, we don't want to work in silo, right? As a technological institute, we need to collaborate with agriculture institute to understand what is needed. So they also said moisture sensor is one very important, because sensor based irrigation will save a lot of water. So we took up that as an initial first problem statement, that let's develop our sensors. We also were parallelly looking at other things, but let's say that was the first product we decided to build, sensors for agriculture. I mean, the soil moisture sensor. So when we built this moisture sensor and made an IoT product, the first prototype as a student, and went to farmers with that kind of that, okay, this we thought farmers will take up with open arms, saying that wow, this is what we needed, and like, okay, give us this and water conservation. They said no, right? That was a setback, that was a kind of a shock. They said they are not so keen on, like, see, I mean, I won't blame them, but they have so many other challenges. How to get a good input, seeds, fertilizers, this and that, and water saving is on, I think, in the last priority for them. It is not even on the priority list. So that was kind of a setback. I felt there is a disconnect. We want water to be conserved. We want, I mean, of course, that is very important, but are the farmers needing such technologies? So that is where we started, we felt that there's a disconnect between what government, what research institutes, what farmers finally need them, right? Then whether it is a high end farmer or a small end farmer, they want more value, not just water conservation. Then some other farmers told us, can you add some more value to it? What is our major problem is disease, right? If there is a disease that occurs, then all our crop is lost. Like pomegranate farmer, they said, this pomegranate farmer is a I mean, you can consider is a big farmer, right? With, and there are small farmers. They are actually, they did not even accept us, asked us ki what else they want. They want just pump to be switched on and off. So this pomegranate farmer said that after 4 or 5 years, if we get a disease, then the whole plant has to be uprooted and thrown. So can you do a disease prediction? This is way back in 2014-15 when we went with our prototype. So right, drop per drop is something which government wants it. Every farmer should take it, until unless that is regulated, that water is not freely available, and if the farmers have to pay for water, or if the on your water saving, if there is some kind of some incentive is provided, maybe that is the time farmers will start looking at water as one of this thing. Farmers who are like Punjab farmers, we all know that they have depleted, they have just putting bore wells, and now the groundwater levels have gone down, and now they are trying to see something. So this was a kind of a setback I felt, or maybe a disconnect that was there. And maybe we should know what farmers really want, and then start looking at back end and try to develop technologies. So that
Correct.
is an example I can give you.
So today, where have you identified as the biggest problem that you're solving for with your with soil sense?
Yeah, so one thing is that there are two things I think one needs to look at. Having said that, farmers not ready to accept sensor based irrigation is one part of it. But as a responsible citizen, we know that this is required.
Yes.
If there is no water, there won't be any farming left, and there won't be any food. So we need to make sure that the water is has to be saved. Now, how we can bring in this technology to the farmer is something is also a responsibility of ours and government together.
Yes.
So we first have to create awareness. So
Yeah.
while doing this, we also realize that farmers are indiscriminately putting fertilizers. Urea is
Ah,
subsidized, right? You know that urea is subsidized. So you get urea, and whether, I mean, farmers are of the opinion that you put more urea because of this green revolution, you put more urea, you get better productivity. But that's not the case. Initially, it has happened that, okay, you put fertilizers and the crop productivity increased, but slowly it has done more harm than good, right? The lands have degraded, excess use of chemical fertilizers, productivity has now gone down. So it's again a responsibility that put fertilizer only as what is needed by the soil. So soil testing again is a very important thing which is needed. Again, 90% of the farmers in India, if you see, do not have access to soil testing facility. And that's one reason that if you go to the remote villages, they don't even know the importance of soil testing because they have not seen. And secondly, we have 14, 15 crore farmers in India, and we have very little infrastructure for soil testing. That is one thing which is again very much required. But again, the farmers do not have access to it. That's why they don't understand the importance of it. So it's kind of a vicious cycle. One needs to break that cycle somewhere, right? So for us, I feel as a responsible citizen or an entrepreneur or a person in an agri-tech space, my responsibility is not only in just developing tech, but developing tech, create awareness, and make sure that this is adopted by farmers. Only thing what I need to do is that whether this technology is suitable for my Indian farmers, whether, see, a technology here, if I again compare my agriculture of India with the agriculture of Europe or USA, a small farmer of USA is not a small farmer in India. You cannot have that definition, right? So here when I talk about 85% of farmers in India are small farmers. So is my tech, even if I want to bring revolution in agriculture in India, it has to be, a technology has to be for those 85%. The rest 15% will anyway definitely will have technology, and they have access to the technology. Even if there is no technology in India, they have access to the technology from Europe and all, which they can use it. But if technology has to be brought in India, it has to be designed, customized. You will have to think ease of use, language, the data interpretation, the actionable insights, all designed for them.
so
And with
Rajul,
the,
when you say small farmers,
yeah.
sorry, between 2 to 5 acres, that used to be the definition. Is that the still the definition? Land holding 2 to 5 acres.
Yeah, that is the definition which is there in the theory, but there are farmers with 5 acres. I've seen farmers with less than 2 acres also, right?
Okay.
The lands have been split, right? So I would say, okay, still you can consider maybe 5 acres, maybe 3 acres on an average,
Okay.
right? But this is, again, I would not like to comment on this because my data set is much smaller than what the data set is needed to come to such a conclusion.
Okay. Got it. The priority for you at this stage is what?
Hmm.
At this time, for to stay invested in soil sense, what is it that you need?
Well, I need, frankly speaking, if see my as an engineer, my I would say my responsibility was to develop technologies that are cost effective, that are reliable, that is designed for farmers in India.
Correct.
Beyond that, I need now support to take these technologies. Otherwise, I'll if I keep facing challenges from everywhere, right? The people who are supposed to take it forward from here and support us to take it forward from here, if I don't get that support, then I'll lose interest.
Yes,
The
absolutely.
2011 to 2024, 13 years is a long time to work in for certain technologies and still work with this equal passion, right? The thing I need right now is whatever I have developed. I have developed looking at the agriculture technologies, which are how people in US, Israel, Europe, Australia are using such technologies of soil testing. Hello, can you hear
Yes,
me?
yes.
Yeah. So I actually built based on a lot of literature and what is needed for fertilizer recommendations, what is important. Now it is the governments, it is the research institutes of agriculture who openly accept and validate this technology and take it to the farmers. The challenge I face is whenever I go with such technology, I mean, either scientists would say no, no, what has been there from last 40, 50 years is the way to go, then my whole effort of bringing such a reliable portable device which can be used at a village level, something like what I have developed is lab in proximity to the field,
Yes.
lab in your hand. It's a very small 50-gram device. I maybe just show it to you while in this thing. So I want scientists to be little open-minded,
Yeah.
agriculture scientists, validate it, tell us if there is a thing which is needed, if I need to customize, but please accept it with open hand. Let's work together and take it to the farmers. Otherwise, this technology will get lost in all this whole bureaucracy of like validation. In fact, I have recently met Secretary of Agriculture and told him same exactly use the same words that if you don't support us now to take it forward, it is not going to go anywhere. I have been on the field, understood the challenges, talked to the farmers, they need it, but then as a startup alone I can't do it. It's a huge country, needs huge funding, needs huge support. So that is what I need government support to take this technology to farmers, entrepreneurs, women farmers. It will not only provide soil testing service to farmers, but it will also bring rural employment. It will also bring a little glamour in agriculture. Yesterday I told you, right, I was in some research university of agriculture, and I talked to so many. I was just sitting in the library zone of that agriculture and talking to so many students, and none of the students told me that they want to continue agriculture. They are agriculture graduates. They want to write all these exams, competitive exams, because they feel there is no future in agriculture.
So
Now
sad.
imagine the situation. I want to bring that tech back, that glamour back to agriculture. That agriculture is a most complex science, right? And one needs a lot of scientific community, agriculture scientists, technology engineers to change the whole agriculture scenario in India. So
You
I told
also, yeah, please go on.
yeah, I told a lot of students to contact me directly in case if they are interested to like understand more about it,
Yeah.
right? I also talked to the professors there, told that I need, and I was happy that I at least got some support from that, because it was, this whole meeting was organized by ministry, and ministry is also with open hands trying to support us so that we can get things validated by agriculture universities. So we are in that process, and I'm hoping that if this bottleneck is resolved sooner, I think the technology can create huge revolution in India.
Yeah. So the political will is one aspect. The
Yes.
second part is like farmers, you also have stakeholders in the corporates, the corporate
Yes.
sector. So tell us a little bit in terms of how do you want corporate sector to support proximal soil sense?
Okay. So in corporate sector, if I had to say, see, when you take a new technology to farmers, there's a different challenge that you have to change the mindset of the farmer. Why is soil testing important? Why is sensor based irrigation important? Why you need to use this? How you need to use this? Right? That's the challenge. But when I go to corporate, this is not a problem that I face there, because they already understand that this is the need of the hour. So for any business, whether it's a corporate or for a startup or anybody, at the end of the day, everybody is looking for business, right? Sustainability. It has to bring revenue. So I don't find that as a challenging with corporates, that to make them understand why it is needed. The challenge I face with corporates is again, has your technology being validated by scientists? So
So it comes back to the validation piece.
it comes back to the validation, and for
And
the validation again, it's a government, I mean the political will, and the agriculture community, the scientist will, to support new tech. See, I feel that one should not have that kind of I'm not saying that they have, but I feel that one should not have that ego that agriculture is only meant for agriculture scientists and technology can only do something else. I think the technology and agriculture has to come together and drop their egos and work together. That is when you will see the change. So in 2011, we worked a collaborative project at IIT Bombay to DST and MIT, where we brought agriculture institutes and technological institutes together. But unfortunately, project ends and things just go back. And as a human tendency, we all forget, right, the whole funds that have gone into. So luckily in our case, at least after the project and ended, we started soil sense, right? So at least something is continuing, but then challenges I still face the same, right?
Rajul, my last question to you is, what do you also think that some of the roadblocks you face are to do with gender?
Uh, I think it's a very well known kind of that nobody talks about it, but we all know that funding is a challenge. This is a soil science is a completely almost a woman led. I mean, most of the, I mean, again, here it is that if a startup is just led by a woman, right? It has huge challenges. They want to see a male counterpart in some form or the other for funding. That is one major challenge. I think funding is a major challenge. Because as a soil sense, it is, you can say it's more than 95% or 90% is women, right? So that is funding is a big challenge, whether people accept it or not, but we have seen in the statistics. And when we say, that is one more thing I would like to bring in, I think whether it is directly relevant or not, but we say that things are now changing and women founders, a lot of women founders are also getting support. Having said that, what I have seen that most of the women founders who got support has, maybe they are having some majority, but there is always a male co-founder. I have not seen a startup just with women co-founders or women founder having got that kind of funding that women plus men co-founders got it. We take that statistics as saying that it is women-led startup which has got funding and things have improved. But I think we need to do that kind of statistics that just the women-led founders, how much of that they got funding. So I feel there's a huge challenge there, and it is a challenge, and I have faced that.
And my last question to you is, what does Rajul Patkar see that brings her back to work day after day after day for 14 years on this topic?
Is it's how I am built. It's that I'm the kind of person who doesn't give up easily, right? Maybe it is to do with our, like every woman would have that kind of attitude that we don't give up easily, and we are very flexible whether it comes to a family. So that is what I don't give up. And other thing is, if I find a roadblock, right, I'm very upfront and transparent about things. So I don't feel that fear that whether I can say this or not. I went to secretary sir and said, this is a challenge. If you don't do it anything, don't ask any scientist to work on any new tech. So that is how I am. So for me, that I'm a very positive and optimist person. आज नहीं हुआ तो कल होगा, कल नहीं तो परसों होगा. So that drives me that it is going to happen. So that is one thing. Second is that if I fail, मेरा एक और I feel that the more it is that if I fail, it's not just me. It's like many of the women founders like me who sees me as an inspiration will fail. So that also motivates me that I can
Beautiful.
have no option to fail but to succeed.
Very nice. Lovely talking to you, Dr. Rajul Patkar, Proximal Soilsens Technologies founder and our guest today. Thank you so much. And I really hope that this conversation makes the story reach far and wide, and more people can see the woman behind this passionate program and the startup that she's put together. 90% of people in her company are women, so women led. She faces huge amounts of barriers and day to day challenges, but is driven by optimism and a sense of tremendous responsibility, both to the earth and to the future of mankind as she is to women and women who take up entrepreneurial uh, responsibilities. So, more power to you, Rajul, and to your team. Thank you so much for being our guest today.